Today I'm going to present the topic consumer right and consumerism. In the previous lectures, we have discussed about consumerism, and this lesson talks about consumer rights. So, what are consumer rights? The consumer rights are the basic rights that are basically given to every individual who purchases goods or services, and these rights are essential to protect the consumers from unfair trade practices and exploitation in the market. So, in today's world where markets are highly competitive, consumers often face issues like misleading advertisements, defective products, and overpricing. So, therefore, awareness of consumer rights becomes very important. So, there are several key consumer rights such as the right to safety, which protects us from any kind of hazardous product, the right to information, which ensures that what we get complete details about the product, and the right to choose, which is going to give us access to a variety of goods, and right to redressal, which is going to allow us to seek compensation in case of any grievance. So consumerism we have discussed in the last lecture. So in addition to the rights, the consumer also have some responsibilities which we are going to talk about in this lecture, such as checking the product details, and suppose you have to ask for a bill, and you have to not be misled by any kind of false advertisement. So to conclude, being aware of consumer rights not only protects us but also helps us in building a fair and ethical marketplace. So now I am going to discuss one of the most important consumer rights, which is the right to safety. So the right to safety means that every consumer has the right to be protected against goods and services that may be harmful to their life or property. So in today's market, many products are available, but not all of them are safe. Some may be defective, low quality, or even dangerous if used. So that this right just ensures that manufacturers and sellers maintain proper quality standards before selling their products. For example, electrical appliances, food items, medicines, and vehicles should always meet safety standards to avoid any harm to the consumers. So it is also important that the products we purchase not only satisfy our immediate need but are also safe for long-term use. So consumers should always check safety marks like ISI or quality certifications before you're going to buy any product. So in simple words, the right to safety protects us from risky and hazardous products, and it helps to ensure a safe and a secure, healthy lifestyle. So, continuing the right to safety, this slide focuses on what consumers should do before making a product. So, before buying any product, the consumer should always check the quality, and they should ensure that the product comes with a proper guarantee or warranty. And this is going to help in avoiding defective or any unsafe products. And one important way to ensure safety is by looking for quality certification marks. For example, the ISI mark. So this is the ISI mark. It is used for industrial products, and it just assures that products meet safety standards. So similarly, AG mark. This is the AG mark. It is used for agricultural products, and it just ensures quality and purity. So by choosing products with these marks, consumers can reduce the risk of purchasing harmful or low quality products, and it also ensures manufacturers to maintain high standards. Therefore, being careful and aware while purchasing is an important responsibility of every consumer to ensure safety and long-term satisfaction. Now we are going to learn about right to be informed. So this is one of the most important consumer rights, and the right to be informed means that every consumer has the right to get complete and accurate information about a product before purchasing it. So this includes details such as quality, quantity, price, ingredients, expiry date, and usage instructions. So this right protects the consumers from unfair trade practices like misleading advertisement, any kind of hidden charges or false claims made by the sellers. So when consumers are fully informed, they can make better and more rational decisions. For example, while buying a food product, we should check the ingredients, manufacturing date, expiry date and price. Similarly, in electronic goods, we should check specifications, warranty and any kind of safety instructions. For example, suppose if companies hide important information or they provide any kinds of false details, it is violation of this right. So to conclude, the right to be informed just empowers the consumers with knowledge and they help them to avoid being cheated in marketplace. Now we are going to talk about one of the important consumer rights, that is the right to choose. So the right to choose means uh, that every consumer has the freedom to select from a variety of goods and services that are available in the market, and it just ensures that that consumers are not forced or pressured to buy a particular product. Instead, they can compare different options that are based on price, quality and features, and then make a decision that best suits their needs. So this right also guarantees that wherever possible the consumer should have access to a wide range of products at a competitive prices. So in simple words, more choices in the market lead to better quality and fair pricing for the consumers. However, in some situation where there is a monopoly, meaning only one seller is going to exist, the right to choose ensures that the consumer still receives satisfactory quality and services at a fair price. So this right plays like a very important role in protecting consumers from unfair trade practices, and it encourages competition among businesses, which ultimately benefits the consumers by improving product quality and reducing prices. So, for example, when you go to buy a mobile phone, you can choose from different brands like Samsung, Apple, or Xiaomi. So, this freedom to compare and select is an example of right to choose. So, to conclude, the right to choose empowers consumers and it gives them control over their decision and helps them create a fair and competitive market. So, continuing with the right to choose, now I would like to highlight another important aspect of this right. So, the right to choose not only means freedom to select from different products, but it also includes the right to access basic goods and services. And this ensures that every consumer, especially the majority, gets a fair share of essential resources like food, water, healthcare, and other necessities. And the reason behind this is very important. If complete and unrestricted choice is given only to a small group of people, it may lead to inequality. So, in such cases, a minority might consume more resources while the majority may be deprived of the basic needs. Therefore, this right aims to maintain balance and fairness in the market, and it also promotes a system where goods and services are just distributed in a way that benefits society as a whole. So not just a few individuals. In simple terms, it just ensures that while consumers have freedom of choice, that freedom should not harm the right of others. For example, suppose if essential goods like medicines or food are limited, they should be fairly available to everyone instead of being dominated by a few buyers. So, the right to choose is just not about freedom, it is also about responsibility, equality, and fair distribution in the market. Now moving on to the next right, that is right to heard, and this is another important consumer right, which is the right to be heard. So the right to be heard means that every consumer has the right to express their complaints, their opinions and concerns regarding any product or service, and it just ensures that the consumer's interests are given due consideration at appropriate forums such as consumer courts, company grievance cell, or any government bodies. So this right also includes the opportunities for the consumer to be represented in various forums and committees that work for consumer welfare. So In simple words, it means that consumers are not ignored. They have a voice, and that voice must be listened to. So this right is very important because it empowers consumers to take action against like unfair trade practices like defective goods, poor service, or misleading advertisements, and it just allows them to file complaints without fear and expect that their issues will be taken seriously. For example, suppose if a customer buys a product that is damaged or not as promised, they can raise a complaint with the company or approach a consumer forum. And their complaint must be heard and properly uh, considered. So, in today's world, many companies have set up customer care services and a lot of grievance cells to ensure that the consumer's voice are heard and their problems are being addressed. So, to conclude, the right to be heard gives power to the consumers, it ensures fairness, and it helps to build trust between consumers and businesses. Now let's move on to the next right, which is important, also important, which is the right to seek redressal. So this right means that every consumer has the ability to seek justice or compensation against unfair trade practices or exploitation by the sellers and service providers. So if a consumer is cheated, receives defective goods, or poor quality services, they have the right to take action and get their problem resolved. And it also includes the right to get a fair settlement of genuine complaints, and this means that the consumers can demand repair, replacement, refund, or compensation. It is going to depend on the loss or the damage they have basically suffered. So this right is very important because it protects the consumer from being helpless in the market, and it gives them confidence that if something goes wrong, there is a proper system to support them. So in India, consumers can approach consumer forums or courts at district, state, and national levels to file their complaint and seek justice. For example, suppose if you buy a product that is defective or not as advertised, you can file a complaint and ask for replacement or refund. So this is your right to seek redressal in action. So to conclude, this right just ensures fairness and protects the consumer from any kind of exploitation, and it just makes businesses more responsible and accountable. So this was your right to seek redressal, where you have the right to go to these forums and you have to just give your voice. So this is the right to seek redressal. Now let's move on to another aspects, and this right is very relevant, that and it is basically related to seek justice or any compensation against unfair trade practices or any exploitation by the sellers and the service providers. Suppose if a consumer is cheated, if receives a defective good or poor quality services, they definitely have the right to take action and get their problems resolved. And it also includes the right to get a fair settlement of the genuine complaints. So this means that consumers can demand repair, replacement, refund, or compensation, and depending on the loss or damage that they have suffered. So this right is very important because it just protects the consumer from being helpless in the market, and it gives them confidence that if something goes wrong, there is a proper system to support them. So in India, consumers can approach consumer forums or courts at district, state, and at national levels to file their complaints and just to seek justice. For example, suppose if you buy a product that is defective or that is not as advertised, you can file a complaint and you can ask for replacement of refunds. So this is your right to seek redressal. So this right is going to ensure fairness. It is going to protect the consumer from exploitation, and it is going to make businesses more responsible and accountable. Now we're going to talk about the right to consumer education. This is one of the most important rights of consumers, and this right means that every consumer has the right to acquire knowledge and skills needed to become an informed and aware buyer throughout their life. And it just ensures that the consumers understand their rights, their responsibilities, and the way to protect themselves in the market. So an important point to note here is that ignorance of consumers, especially in rural areas, is one of the main reasons for their exploitation. So when people are not aware of the product quality, pricing, or their legal rights, they can easily be misled or they can easily be cheated. So the right to consumer education helps to resolve this problem by spreading awareness and about things like reading product labels. You have to check your MRPs, understanding the warranties, and knowing how to file complaints. So in India, the government has taken several initiatives to promote consumer awareness, such as the famous Jago Grahak Jago campaign, which ensures and which just encourages the consumers to be alert and to be informed while making any kind of purchase. So this right is very important because an educated consumer is a powerful consumer. So when people are aware, they can question any kind of unfair trade practices, they can demand better quality, and they can make smarter decisions. To conclude, the right to customer education not only protects individuals, but it also helps us to create a fair, transparent, and a responsible marketplace. So this was the right to consumer education, where every consumer should be educated. So now this slide explains the responsibilities of consumers along with rights. Consumers also have certain duties to ensure fair trade and safe purchasing. First, the consumers must exercise their rights. So this means that they should be aware of their rights and they should use them whenever they face any kind of unfair trade practices. So awareness helps in protecting themselves from any kind of exploitation. Second, a cautious consumer does not buy blindly. Before purchasing any product, consumers should carefully read labels, check expiry dates, and compare quality and price, and this helps in making more informed decisions. So third, the consumer should insist on the bill. Now a proper bill is going to act as a proof of purchase and is useful for exchange, refund, or complaint. So without a bill, it becomes very difficult to claim consumer rights. Fourth, the consumers should not be affected by advertisements. So advertisements can be misleading, so consumers should evaluate products based on facts rather than any kind of promotional claim. So fifth, the consumer must be quality conscious. So they should look for quality marks like ISI, EGMARK, or other certifications to just to ensure that the product meets the safety standards. Sixth, the consumers should file complaints for genuine grievances. So if they receive any kind of defective goods or poor services, they should raise their voice and approach consumer forums for justice. Lastly, being a cautious customer overall means that you are thinking carefully, you are comparing options, and you're making responsible purchasing decisions. So to conclude, responsible consumers not only protect themselves but also they promote ethical business practices in the society. So you should always become a responsible consumer. Now let us look at some questions to revise the entire concept that we have studied so far. So the first question is, the right to safety protects the consumers against, so here are your options: against high prices, against dangerous goods and services, against poor packaging, or against late delivery. So the correct answer for this question would be, it is going to protect the consumers against any kind of dangerous goods and services. So the question is, the right to safety is going to is going to ensure you that you are not buying anything that is hazardous or something that's dangerous for your health. So this was your right to safety. Now the second question, which right allows consumers to seek compensation? We should know what's the meaning of compensation. So the compensation means when you get paid some money as a relief, as a sign of relief. So there are some options in front of you. First is the right to choose. Second is the right to redressal. Third is right to safety, and fourth is right to information. Now let's first revise all of these rights one by one. First is right to choose. So in the right to choose, you will have a variety of products in front of you, and you have the full right to choose amongst those products. So there is no thing about compensation here, so this can't be the answer. So next is your right to seek redressal. So this is the correct answer of this question. Under right to seek redressal, you can go to courts or any kind of forums where you can seek compensation as a consumer. Then is right to safety. So right to safety, as we have discussed in the video, right to safety means when you have the right to make sure that the products you are consuming are safe to use and take. So this is right to safety. This then is right to information, or we call this as RTI. RTI is right to information. It means that you have the full authority to take information regarding anything that you are consuming. It can be the product, ingredients, or anything that you are consuming. But you should know right to information is not applicable to everything. So anything that's related to government can't be disclosed publicly. So here right to information is not going to work. Here right to information is not going to work because it is a very government informations are very private. So this was your right to seek compensation. Now, which of the following is a consumer responsibility? So we have learnt about consumer responsibilities. First is ignoring product label. I think this is wrong. Not asking for a bill. Suppose you are not asking for a bill, so I think it should be your responsibility. So this is also not the answer. Checking products details before buying. Yes, you should always check the details of the product before you are buying that product, and buying without thinking. So this is the worst thing a consumer can do. If you are not thinking before buying, you are not the responsible consumer. So the correct answer for this question is checking product details before buying. Now, which mark indicates food safety in India? So, ISI egg mark, FSSAI, or your ISO mark. So, the correct answer is the FSSAI mark. This is the correct answer for this question. Now, the next question is Yes, which right allows consumers to express? You have to focus on the word express. Which right allows the consumers to express complaints? So, is it right to safety, right to be heard, right to choose, or right to education? So, what do you think? I think right to education can't be the answer because a consumer will not have the right to education when they are going to express their complaints. And next is right to safety. So right to safety is about your consuming goods that are safe in nature. Right to be heard and right to choose. So right to choose is when you have the right to choose amongst variety. So the correct answer for this question would be right to be heard. So question and option number B is the correct option of this question, which right allows consumer to express their complaints. So right to be heard is going to allow the consumer to express their complaint. So with this I am ending my lecture here, and we have completed consumerism and consumer rights, where we have learnt about all the rights and the duties that a consumer has to follow.